I thought we'd wake up today and it would be freezing cold. I was reserved the thought that maybe we'd just scratch training. Then looking ahead, Friday and Saturday look so bitterly cold. It's likely to happen then, so it was less likely to happen today. Get the kids to school, go to the track, go to the burn. It was cold, but it wasn't windy and the sun was out, so it was actually a nice day. I would say it was around minus 10, so it wasn't balmy. We weren't putting out any sunscreen or mosquito repellent. It was chilly. It was a brisk day, but at the same time, not as bad as I thought it would be. So we went with all the sets today. What did we get? A couple of scratches, I think. James ended up not going with his colt, Blarney Castle. George of the Jungle had a very slight temperature, so we didn't go with him. Time is on my side. It cut his shoulder, so we just wanted to give him a few days to heal. It was just in the meat. It was not a big deal at all. It'd be fine. But no need for him to go today. So we were at a couple of reduced sets. We had 3 sets. Howley in the Clouds was very, very good. I know that Amy meant business with her today. Usually she sits last and kind of circles them, but she ended up putting her right up on the front, which was doubly surprising because I know she didn't have a watch. But you get in the habit of knowing how fast the horses are going, especially when it's repetitive. We've gone between 240-ish, mostly 242, 243 to 252, 253 for the past 4 or 5 weeks. So you get a sense of that speed. And I know Amy kept looking over, waiting for somebody to come, and I wasn't coming. I had Seasons of Love, or I had Insider Trading. I just wanted her to behave. She ended up making a break and finished up very strong, but I want to continue to put her in places where she has to behave, because she loves her work. She loves to work. She loves to compete, but she can't do it if she's making stupid mistakes in the middle of the pack. So I made sure I put her in the middle of the pack, and I'll continue to put her in the middle of the pack until she gets comfortable in that setting and then stops. It's very it's a little hard to explain, but when you have horses that want to do their work but just maybe are a little bit eager, that repetitive nature really helps them. So there's no necessary equipment changes that have to be made. There's no, we need to do this differently or that differently. We don't need to do anything differently. In fact, we need to do everything the same again and again and again and again, and she'll get it. And today, when she's trotting in full stride, she is beautiful. But that middle gear, she's just a little tentative in the middle, just not completely focused and paying attention or work. She's a baby. Not the end of the world. But I know I talked to Danny after. Drebin had made a break, and I didn't talk to him in depth about why he made a break. I was right there. I saw the whole thing. I don't know if even Danny saw it. James went to snap J-Port Beach Boy on the tail, and when he did, he come up and his whip was literally right beside the nose of Drebin. He just threw his head, made a break. And I don't even know if Danny saw it. I know that he was fine afterwards and everything like that, but that did spook him. And then Danny said, what about the two that made breaks? I said, I don't think any changes are needed with either of them. Middle of the pack, make sure they're both comfortable. Both of them have very, very fast speed. We don't need to see fast speed this time of year. There's no need of it. All we need to see is an understanding of their job, and it doesn't happen overnight. A little bit different. You know, at top speed, both Drebin and Insider Trading are flawless. They're fine. It's getting to top speed, backing away from top speed, starting and stopping in the middle of the pack, following, behaving, focusing. Those are the things that both Drebin and Insider Trading have to work on. And it's not surprising. I mean, they're just, especially when you get horses that are so fast, they want to get out and compete, you know, to win. That's great. I don't want to stop them from wanting to do that, but I do want them to understand their job. And that just takes time. So a little repetition will get us there with those two horses. Hallie was fantastic on the front. As I said, Amy kept looking and looking. Nobody was coming. And she ended up saying after, she goes, I don't know how fast I went. One, it's hard for Amy to carry the whip and the watch and the lines. You can get used to it, but she also knows when it's minus 10, minus 12, and you're carrying a watch and a whip, both your hands will freeze 100%. Now, a little less, I know it because I've driven my whole life. James does, Danny does. But Amy, she's not used to that bitter, frigid cold in her hands and her feet, and your hands freeze like that, and it can be quite painful for people that aren't used to it. So, I know she said, I forgot my watch. She didn't forget her watch. I know she didn't take her watch because she didn't want her hands to freeze, and don't blame her, and they did freeze. So Hallie in the Clouds was exceptionally good today. Insider Trading was good. Drebin, both those horses were fine. As I said, just repetition with them. Jaipur Beach Boy made a break coming out of the last turn, but James, he looked at me and goes, honestly, I have no idea why this horse run. James hit him a snap with the whip. Did he spook him, scare him? I don't know. Both of the McWickets are not big fans of the flip-flops, right? We'll talk about Mick Paisley later on. But Jaipur Beach Boy made a break in a spot where both him and her have in the past, and I think it's just when they're transitioning. So when they're switching their leads, so to speak, coming out of the turn into the stretch, coming off the right line when they're on a hair, getting on the left line just a bit, switching over, they get close to crossfiring. I think in the flip-flops they just don't have the traction that maybe they want or they believe they should have, and they roll off. And the easy answer to that would be, Anthony, just take the flip-flops off. The answer to you would be no, I'm not going to do that. I need them to understand their work, pay attention to their work, and work hard through it. Yes, I can make things easy for them, but there's a reason we have those flip-flops on. And the track may be deep. The track might be dug up and deep a little bit in Stutzman's, but again, I think we're going to let this play out for the next little while, at least for one or two more shoeings. So as we get the corks off into the springtime, yes, then we'll take the flip-flops off. To the ones that don't particularly enjoy the flip-flops or like the flip-flops or find it a little more difficult to maneuver in them. But I'm not worried about that right now, not in the least. So Jaipur Beach Boy also, a 6-horse field, and half of them made breaks the first one, and I'm finding a way to tout them. I'm not worried about the two trotters that run. I got a clear look at why Drebin run and why James run. It was when he's switching leads, he kind of come onto him and spoke to him quickly, and I think he just lost himself and rolled off stride. And then Seasons of Love was great again. I got to see the finish as I was closing on the outside with Insider Trading. Hallie in the Clouds, Seasons of Love, and Lonely Lakewood were all right there together. We're all right there together and looked very, very good finishing up their mile. Very happy with those three, and as I said, not unhappy at all with the other three. They were all very good in their own way, and they all have stuff to work on. But a great set. I think Amy said, Amy didn't know, James told her after, he went in 2:45. Amy beat them, us beat me by length. I would say 2:45 off a half in 28. So last half 17. I came last half in at least 14 or 15, which is a really good last half and a really good mile for them. So great mile altogether. Now a horse that really caught my eye, I told Johnny this would happen too, was don't talk about Bruno. I told him, we put the hobbles on him for a week and he ended up burning quite a bit in his hobbles, so we took them off him. But that confidence, just that 1 week of confidence building with those hobbles on and the work that Johnny put into him, just totally different horse. He was perfect taste and he never put a step in. Watch your mouth. Little scrambly, John. It's mostly for you. A little scrambly, but again, another horse that doesn't really like the flip-flops. He'll be fine with them. International Spy was I want to say a rare breaker, but he's made breaks before. James said he just didn't feel very comfortable on the track today. So I can't really tell you why. It didn't seem lameness-wise to me. Now, we don't have a lot of weight on him up front. He is wearing the hobbles right now, but there's no real, I can't give you a definitive or even, I can't even guess why he probably wasn't as good as we expected today. If it was a nicer day tomorrow and I was there tomorrow, he would be going tomorrow. And I may just text James tonight and just say, hey, just spin the Spy horse, make sure he gets his weekly workout, because we might miss Friday or Saturday also. He didn't end up going much of a mile today. He said he made a couple of breaks, so maybe that's exactly what he needs. But a couple of horses that were good. Mick Paisley was good. Right at the wire, she overpaced herself, and I say it like that because she did overpace herself. Shouldn't have been able to, probably should have stayed at it. But again, there's 3 or 4 or 5 of these horses that really aren't fans of the flip-flops, but we want to make sure we keep them sound. So I guess it's important to explain what I'm saying. In past years, we've worked the horses on harder tracks, right? Tamiko had been hard, frozen from time to time in the wintertime. Now, Stutzman's track may have been frozen in that way 3 times, 4 times, just the weather we've had. It hasn't really been cold for extended periods of time at all in Ontario. So we've had a very warm winter, which negates the necessity for the flip-flops, so to speak, but they can still end up keeping them sound. It may not just be their feet, but their knees and their tendons. Everything just, there's was no rush. I don't want to stress them out just yet. And I thought, especially with historically speaking, the tracks being quite hard in the winter in Ontario, that we would just start them all with flip-flops. And it's turned out that we almost didn't need them at all. But they are there. They are going to learn to work through them, and I don't think there's any need to switch away from them just yet. So they'll keep them. So Saturday, I was told that Winter Bells got a little hot on Jimmy and was actually they thought she was making a little bit of a noise. So I said, enough, put the snake cord on the filly. You won't have to worry about it anymore. So I put the snake cord on her today, and she wouldn't pick up the line. Wouldn't pick up the bit. She still trounced us. I was in the middle with McPaisley. We were doing some smoking on the end of it. Don't Talk About Bruno was on the inside. I was in the middle with McPaisley, and Amy just looped us on the far outside with Winter Bells. And she's pulling up. She goes, she won't pick up the bit like she usually does. I said, honey, I don't care if she doesn't pick the bit up till June, because I know one thing. It won't be hard to get her on the bit when we start racing her. So I know it might be a little difficult, not being able to really sit the bit in her mouth, but I would rather her like that way. So I really don't care if she doesn't pick the bit up till June, as long as she trains as well as she did today. And I said, was she steering good? She did everything right. She just didn't, like I said, didn't pick the bit up. So first two sets were in the books, and Amy beat us pretty good in both of them. Winter Bells was very good. McPaisley she was improved. And Don't Talk About Bruno was good also. Watch Your Mouth was in behind us, and the International Spy had made that break. We were out in the last set. George of the Jungle was scratched, slight temperature, so we just jogged him light. He was fine. He ate all his lunch and seemed good, and has been training good, so I'm not really worried about that. Blarney Castle was scratched, so that scratched us down to a field of 4, and I end up going with Rito Lady. And James is like, he's always super protective. Well, she's never trained. Now you're putting her in a set. I said, James, it's okay. She's allowed to scrimmage. It's not going to kill her. So she went out and did her work well. I was very happy with her. She even lost a shoe. Still did her work well. Now, she wanted no part of the horses that were training. James went with Flash Fly. He said she was good. And she's so tough, but she had a real rash on her legs and in her armpits. And we treated her. I told Amy this, they tried a million creams and Fulvicin and everything on her. And I remember an old horseman one time telling me, Anthony, you want to kill all that old fungus? Now, you have to make sure there's no open sores. So this is just kind of that bumpy skin, that roughness or rash. I said, yeah, honestly, I would try anything at this point. He said, go down to the oil change place and ask them for a gallon of used motor oil. Has to be used. I said, okay. I know people that used to paint the horse's feet with it. He said, just put it all over the legs. Everywhere there's a rash, don't be cheap with it. Put it on and just wait. We put it on that filly before I went to Mr. Lou. And I'll tell you one thing. I never realized how long oil stayed hot for. He put it in a jug. I thought the jug was going to melt. They'd literally just taken it out of a car as I was standing there. And it was boiling hot. I put my hand on it 6 hours later, and it was still warm. I've never seen anything like it. So, take the oil, put it all over the filly, all in her legs, up in her armpits, put it on her, and she was fighting with us. That was Friday. Saturday, they turned her out in the field, brought her in. Amy explained how to just rub the oil on her again. We went over to the barn Sunday. You can touch her armpits, you can touch her legs. They were cleaned out, they were cold. They jogged her yesterday, come in today, and I went and looked at her. Just for the first time in a while, her legs were cold as ice, all cleaned out, all the hairs, the scabs are coming off. It killed it all. And we ended up training her today, and she trained great. James went with her, she was very good. But again, Amy busted us up. Amy won all 3 sets today. Easy in the turns, give it to them. I had, as I said, Rito's Lady, I was back maybe 8 lengths. She won a mile in 2:57, which is impressive because we only really got her gated like a week ago. She's jogged lots, but just hasn't paced right for a week, till a week ago. And looked great today herself, but easy in the turns, beat them up. Flash Fly. James Arthur, my father's horse, was very good, and so was Great Bet for them, right across the track, and they looked really, really good training, and I was very happy with Toledo's lady. Now, as you guys know, I've been paying very, very close attention to Crantini. You know, I told Mary and Jerry and gentleman always comes out to everybody that always comes out to the track. You know, he's stubborn, but I'm much more stubborn than he is. I said by the time he heads back to the East Coast and starts racing, he will be in fine form. And what I mean by that is no more screwing around, no more acting up, no more being bad. You know, I don't know if we're ever going to cure him of totally throwing his head, but I can guarantee you one thing: he's going to be paying attention. And when it came to Crantini, he was bad the first 2 or 3 days, leaping and just feeling good because he's coming out of the field. You know, having that, he always did have that, you know, kind of flippy the bird type attitude, and that wasn't going to cut it. So he worked pretty hard over the last few weeks, jogging and jogging and jogging and jogging. And we turned him out in the field yesterday. God love Amy too. She said, so Crantini's got short hair, just like it was the summer. And went to turn him out in the field. She, put a blanket on him. I said, no. We're not putting blankets on the horses out in the field. He's going to go out for half an hour and play around. Be no blankets. And brought him back in. He was fine, got him ready. Best I've ever seen him in his life was today. Now, is this one day in a row? Is this, one day in a string of attentiveness, obedience? Or was this I'll give you one day every so often just so you don't work me too hard? I don't know. He's a pretty smart horse. But he was perfect today. In fact, he was so good. I turned him. No boots. Just bell boots up front. And a bridle, hood, earplugs under the hood. I went a mile in 2:51 or 2:52, which would be a mile in 6 minutes for him. It was very easy, more of just an easy, light workout. He wasn't blowing or sweating when he came in, and he was feeling great. So, didn't throw his head once, didn't leap once, didn't act up once. Now, as I said, this is day one. This is the first day in a row he ever did this. So, is this one of many to come, or was this just a day of giving a little, taking a lot for him in the future? So I don't know, but I was very happy with Crantini again today. I trained landing pad strong too. He's coming. He just still needs to put more muscle on. I'm well aware that I tell you guys all the time, just need a little more time, and everybody says, Anthony, you said 3 weeks. That was 5 weeks ago. I'm giving you a rough estimate that if everything goes right, this is what you should expect. It doesn't always go right. And quite frankly, when it comes to the horses, they'll tell us when they're ready. And I've had this discussion with a couple of friends, and Tom, one of them, had kept asking about World for Two and why is he not ready. And I understand the trepidation and the eagerness of people to have them ready. But quite frankly, this idea that, here, Anthony took him back in. He came back into Mario's barn on October the 1st, so he should be ready at this point. Anybody that can tell you that says, this is how that doesn't work that way. You might think it does. You might say, best guess, if we have him ready, stays sound, stays healthy, and we get to jog and train all the days we want to, this is when we should have the horses ready. Yes, roughly speaking. But then you have to go and do that. Now, if part of that training is to train the horse in 2:10, and you go a mile in 2:10 with the horse, so you come in, they're blowing a little bit more than they should be, right? They take a little bit longer to cool out. Maybe they didn't eat their lunch. Well, you know what? They weren't ready to go in 2:10. So you're going to have to go back in 2:10 or 2:12 with them in the next week, rinse and repeat. And if you don't pay attention to the horse, all you get is a horse that gets to the races and isn't ready to race. If you're lucky, it just means you race them into shape, as the old horsemen used to call them. If you're not lucky, you just sour them and they're no good for anything. And we've seen that. Both sides of it plenty of times. So we're doing our best to make sure that when we say the horses are ready to go, they are ready to go. And there's no point in racing them if they're not. So when it comes to the sophomores in particular, I appreciate the wide berth you guys are giving us. And I know I do get emails saying, what about this horse? What about that horse? What about this horse? And I appreciate it. No problem at all. I have no problem conveying that information. Quite frankly, I'm a little embarrassed that I haven't. If you don't know, that means I'm not doing my job. But when it comes to the horses, they'll tell us. I say this all the time. They'll tell us when they're ready to go. So with that, we got Per Lucky tonight. We got Yes tonight. We say goodbye and close the chapter of a horse that's meant a lot and done very, very well for the stable.ca in Yes. He's sold. He'll be leaving the stable after this race tonight. Perlucky won't. He's going to be sticking around. So hopefully both of them, I believe, are picked to win. Should be hopefully a good night. We had a great night last night with Looks Like Money. He was awesome. As I said, just a great feeling to get back on. It feels like things are moving forward again. We'll see what tonight's races bring us. But between that, getting the staking done, getting these two horses these would have been our Meadowlands horses, Meadowlands sale horses, getting them now on their way here. Hunted House, full vet check, got them all shot. He's going to be ready to go next week. JK Victory will be here on Friday evening. He potentially could race next week also. Everything is moving forward in the way that it should. So it is going to get nip and tuck financially for the stable, as it always does through February's not too bad, but definitely through March and April. But we should have all our big guns back going at that time also. So I hope you guys had a great day. It was cold, but you know what? It is a beautiful day, and hopefully it'll be... I'll take this tomorrow. If there's no wind and just sun out, -10, I'll take that tomorrow, because it was really a good day of training here in Ontario. So with that, I'll let you go. I hope you guys, as I always say, had a great day and have a good night tonight, especially the groups of Yes and Perlucky. Take care.